All right, guys, we are back. Robin Slim Show with Erik Buchanan on the phone. How you doing, Erik?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Great. Now you're an author, right?
I am.
That's
It's like being a writer, only they has a better title.
Right.
And I was checking out your website earlier. I definitely want to check out the one book, Cold Magic. Sounded awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's
I just-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask you real quick what the synopsis of the book was.
Oh, Cold Magics. Let's see. I have to do elevator pitches for all these books for my editor, right? So let's see if I can remember the one for Cold Magics. All right. Cold Magics in less than 30 seconds. Hang on a second.
Okay.
There we go. All right, Cold Magics in less than 30 seconds. Cold Magics is the story of that's the first book. The first book is Small Magics. It's the story of a young man who discovers magic in a world where no one believes in it anymore except for one person who's willing to kill to possess it all. So that's Small Magics.
Nice.
Very exciting, and I can always remember that one because I thought of it first.
Yeah.
The other one, Cold Magics, our hero is called to the north by a friend of his to help stop a war, while at the same time trying to dodge the church who's trying to hang him for witchcraft.
Nice.
Oh,
So there's a prequel then. So Small Magic is the first.
Small Magics is the first,
I'll have
Cold
to
Magics
start
is the
there.
second,
Cool.
and the third one is coming out this April.
Nice. Nice. You sound a little like my buddy Rick. We just talked
I was
to.
just thinking that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to your buddy Rick. I was trying to come across as more suave. Let me change my voice here. How's that? Do I sound more suave, more debonair, more author?
Yeah.
Thanks. Not sure how long I can keep it up though.
It says you've done a whole bunch of different stuff because I checked your website out. It says you've been a communications consultant.
Yep.
What have you done with that? Like radio or?
Communications consultant, so it's mostly marketing stuff, right? I work for hospitals, believe it or not. I worked internally dealing with newsletters, helping launch programs. When we did this big electronic patient record thing in the hospital I worked for, where you're trying to put all the patients' records on computers, so the doctors have to learn how to use computers to reach their patients. It's very exciting and very confusing for the doctors, but they get it eventually, and then everything works better.
Yeah, my mom had to deal with that kind of rigmarole, whatever that word is. A few years
You got
ago.
me doing it. Rigmarole.
Rigmarole.
That's it.
Got it.
Woohoo.
A couple words I struggle with, and that's one. The other is licorice, and which I just said right, but for years I said licorice. Like I don't even know what I used to say.
Licorice?
Licorice. Licorice is what I used to say.
Licorice.
Yeah. And it said you're a fight director?
I am, yeah. I've been out of the business for a while. I've just been getting back into it the last couple of years. And that's basically teaching actors how to punch each other on stage so that they can do it 8 times a week without, crying.
That's cool.
That sounds pretty awesome.
That's fucking awesome.
So do you actually have to know like a martial arts to be able to do that?
You don't actually have to. One of the best fight directors I know never studied martial arts in his life. He just picked it up as he went along. I, on the other hand, I got a couple of black belts in different styles and then got into fight directing ones in my late 20s.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
It's a load of fun. You get to swing
Sounds
swords
like
at
it.
people.
Wow. Yeah, that's why I didn't know if it was like fencing kind of thing or.
Everything. I've done swords, knives. Don't do guns for the most part. I have friends who are very, very good with those, so I leave that to them. Plus, I find them a bit boring on stage fights, and it's hard to train the actors not to be scared of the thing that goes bang.
Right.
That's why I didn't know.
It's not
I didn't.
like in the movies where you got, the gun wrangler, and he explains to the actor every step, and then hands them gun and points the hand and says, "Okay, fire it, bam, 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 bam. Okay, great, cut."
That's why I didn't know if you were more like a theater guy or it was for movies or television.
Mostly theater is where I worked. I done some TV, but not much. I was actually co-host of a TV show for a year and a bit.
That's cool.
Oh, wow.
Oh yes, it's called Pools, Patios, and Decks, and it played on Home and Garden Television up here in Canada.
Nice.
It was the worst show on TV. Oh God, it was awful. So, okay, Pools, Patios, and Decks. What do you think it's going to be about?
Pools, patios, and decks.
Very good. You expand on that at all?
Yeah.
Seriously, we'd walk into a guy's backyard, and there'd be a crew there, and they'd say, "Okay, so what are we doing here?" He says, "Well, there we're going to build a pool, there we're going to build a patio, and there we're going to put a deck." And we'd say, "Thanks."
Bro.
And we come back 3 weeks later, say, "Hey, what you doing?" Say, "Well, you can see we're half finished the pool, the patio's a third done, and the deck is looking good." And we say, "Thanks," and come back 3 weeks later and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they say, "Great, here's a pool, here's a patio, here's a deck." And then they mush it together and call it a TV show.
They didn't try to
my
add
God.
anything cool to the pool patios and
Yeah,
decks?
were there any like cool designs or like?
Oh, there was some amazing stuff out there. There's one place up here in where I live in Toronto, Northwest. There's a place called Muskoka where rich people can buy cottages. And we went to this one place. nice looking house, the backyard, stone patio, backing on one of the most expensive golf courses in Southern Ontario.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they could walk to because they were massive golfers. The guy who owned this and his wife, they'd come up there to this little bungalow. Which, want to take a wild guess at what this thing cost? This little bungalow?
No.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out.
600,000.
Not quite that. Well, actually, back on the golf course was probably about 4 at the time.
Wow.
The location.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's a nice little bungalow. Hey, a nice house too. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
it's like
but
really
a
for that,
bungalow.
I can move out to the boonies, buy a house, and live there for the rest of my life comfortably.
Yeah. Wow.
So hold on, wait, so did somebody just approach you and be like, "Hey, want to do a TV show about patios, pools, and decks?" Or how did that come
Yeah,
about?
my agent walked up and said, "Hey, this will earn us money. Go get the job."
Yeah.
Were you thrilled? Were you excited? You were like, "Yeah, I love pools, patios, and decks."
I was like, "How much are you gonna pay me?" And they told me, and I said, "Good enough."
That's great.
No, the last TV show gig I did was actually stunt work.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Cool, man.
Oh yeah, it was cool. A friend of mine's a stunt coordinator, and he was working on this amazing, exciting show called Curious and Unusual Deaths.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yes.
That's fucking cool.
I think there was another one. I think it was on Fox or something. 1,000 Ways to Die or something like that. Very
Yeah,
solid.
that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, well, this is I don't know if it's the same show with a different title or if it's a different show or what it was, but yeah, I got this call saying, "Hey, you're the right size. Want to go get yanked off the balance with a massive explosion and go flying through the air?"
That's cool.
And I said, "How much are you going to pay me?"
Yeah.
And he told me, and I said, "Okay, that's equal to a day of what I'm making at work, sitting in an office, and this is far more fun. So sure."
Yeah.
So you
Fuck yeah.
really enjoyed doing that?
Well, yeah, no, it went really well. Banged myself up a bit, but it was not nearly as exciting as it looked on TV.
Right.
Because it wasn't a huge show where they had a massive explosion, right? So
Okay.
they had them shooting me out in this field with this thing, and I had to jump in the air and use a jerk line, which is a wire that yanks you backwards a fair distance.
Yeah.
So I went flying on one of those, boom, and landed a couple of times, and that was great. Mislanded one time and sort of lay there on the mat going, "Ooh," for a while, but I was good. It was fine.
Eric,
I look at it, and where's everything else? They added in post. I didn't even get to see anything blow up. I was sad.
oh man. Eric, I was going to ask you. You said you were getting new headphones for this interview.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I actually managed to borrow a pair from a friend of mine who's a podcaster, which was good. No, my old headphones suffered the demise of being in the wrong bag when I was sitting down.
Oh, got
Yes.
crushed.
They were nice ones too, man. I was using those for other interviews with various people and for talking with my editor to explain why the book isn't done yet. And then they accidentally broke.
Yeah.
Ah.
Ooh, that old gag. I love your blog too. I only checked the one out, but I was gonna actually forward it to Slim because it was a great. We just had we had an issue last week, and we were just discussing it earlier. But you had an article about when a project is dead, and I really enjoyed that. I think that has a lot to do. You were writing about books in particular, but it has a lot to do with any project, I feel.
It really does. When you're doing a creative endeavor, at a certain point, it's either going to go or it's not. And especially as you know, doing this, as I know, being a writer and especially being an actor,
Yeah.
when it stops being fun, you got to ask yourself if it's worth it.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing with the project I was speaking about was actually a friend of mine. I'm not going to say the person's name or talk about the name of the project because that's their business. But it was what inspired me thinking about listening to them and all the trials they went through with this project. And they worked on this thing for a year.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
They had an offer,
Wow.
and they still couldn't make it work.
Wow.
And they wouldn't put their name on it. They're a very, very good writer. They're extremely good at what they do. And there's no way they're going to put their name on that. And so they had to back down. Now, they hadn't signed anything, so there was no contractual issues or anything like that, right? Which is good.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing, as I said. And
Yeah.
Are you getting paid for it? If so, suck it up, Buttercup.
Exactly. But I like how you said, take a step back and look at think about, or just clean your apartment. Take a step out of the project for a day or whatever.
I tell you, this apartment never looks cleaner than when I'm stuck on my work. When I'm working, it's like I'm working and I got things to do. And oh, yeah, it's time to feed the child. Here you go. Go do your homework. And I'm working again. And, you know, about a week later, I'll look up and go, oh, dear God, when did the raccoons move in? Right? But then you get to the point where you're stuck and you're frustrated. And boy, there's nothing better than, you know, just I will make everything perfect and then the book will be fine. And then you clean the whole place.
It's kind of like anything, any relationship, any project. You always hit a rut. And you just got to get, you know, either get through it or, you know, access the damage, whatever it is, and see if you got to bail.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting too how you said like if you're not having fun anymore, then you got to think about it. And that was one of the biggest things. That I was like, I still love doing this. I'm still having.
That's
a lot
what
of fun.
I meant to ask you because I couldn't tell. Like,
No, yeah, it was all
it's
my
becoming like a chore.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it's a chore at all. I think all my reasonings were more putting myself down, thinking like maybe I can't handle this. Maybe I don't have the best chemistry with Rob here. Maybe we have creative differences, things like that. But it had always been in my mind that I'm still having a lot of fun doing this, and we still made this happen. We can keep doing it, you know.
And that's the thing, right? As long as you're enjoying what you do, as long as both you are enjoying the work, then why not keep at it? What do you got to lose?
Exactly.
If you get to the point where you're ready to, you know, waiting for the other guy to talk so you can shove a knife in their back and see what sort of noises they make as they die on air, that's probably the time to step back and say, maybe we should call this quits. Maybe we're done.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed that blog, dude. That was a great article. No problem. Thank you. I actually posted it in... Did I post it? I don't know. I thought I posted it today for you to see, but I may not have. I
might not have seen it. I think
because I didn't see it either.
I'll read it now, though. It definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah, that is erikbuchanan.ca.
That is correct.
ErikBuchanan.ca.
Perfect.
That's
Thank
all
you.
on there.
Thank you.
No problem, brother.
The more people who know I exist, the more people there are that might buy my books.
How many have you sold? Is it sold a lot?
Well, I'd love to say millions, but I'd be lying through my teeth.
Yeah.
I'd also love to say that I'm a far more successful author than I was an actor, but you've heard my story, so you know the bar there isn't too high, right? No, I do okay, but I'm not published by a major publisher. Like I'm not a Penguin published author or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm working with a smaller press, which means I'm the one who's got to do all the legwork because they have very limited budget. And while you can order my books into any bookstore just by saying, okay, it's this book, it's published, it's Small Magics and Cold Magics, published by Dragon Moon Press, and you can find us. We have an international distributor. You can buy all our books on Amazon, of course, because you can buy everyone's books on Amazon.
Yeah.
So, seriously, if your dog writes a book, you'll find it the next week on Amazon. It's amazing. So all that's out there. And for the first two books, I didn't sell as many as I would like, in part because I was working full time and trying to act and trying to fight direct and trying to write and trying to keep my life intact. And after my life fell apart and my job went away, it's here for layoffs. I started my own business doing communications consulting and writing.
Cool.
And that gave me the time for this new book coming out with True Magics, the third and final book in this installment, which will be coming out in April of 2015. Not that I'm desperately plugging it or anything. But awesome. With this one, it gives me time to actually do the work that I need to do to see if I can increase sales to a level where I can say, hey, I can buy more than a pizza with this royalty check. So that's not actually fair. My last royalty check paid for my DVD player. It was a really, really cheap DVD player.
Oh.
But it paid for it.
So I actually have like a few questions. What draws you to like the idea of magic, and like what type of magic do you write about? Because like I've read like the Dresden Files, and I read one
called Rune Marks that was pretty cool.
Rune Marks, another one. Yeah. In terms of the type of magic, I read a lot of epic science, epic fantasy. You got the Lord of the Rings, you got the 10 million Lord of the Rings knockoffs, you got everything that David Eddings ever wrote. You've got all this huge stuff. And with this book, with the first book with Small Magics, the concept was really, what if magic wasn't big?
Right.
What if it's just little stuff? What if it's just tiny things that people can do, and someone has figured out a way to collect them all and is trying to kill people? And then our hero enters the picture, and shenanigans ensue.
Nice.
Which you'll all find out if you go out and buy Small Magics from Dragon Moon Press, available at finer bookstores and Amazon. So So that was what I was thinking about in terms of just small individual skills that people had. And then in the course of Cold Magics, we see him develop it more and learn more about his magic and sort of discover some of the other things. And in our grand finale here, True Magics, he's really going up against the church. And the working elevator pitch is not finished, so bear with me. The working elevator pitch is that our hero is caught in the middle of a battle between church and state for control of magic.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So, high stakes. We start out with the smaller stakes in the first book because it's all personal, and then it gets bigger and bigger into our grand finale in the third book here.
Nice.
So eventually, more people are learning how to use magic in these books.
Not
Or
so
he
much
uses
more
to
people are
learn
learning how to
more.
use magic, as magic has been mostly lost. And the people who have it are being very quiet about it because people tend to hang you for it.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that our hero is rediscovering what magic can actually be
That's
and
great.
how far it can actually go. And in our third book, we really get a nice view of that.
That's awesome.
Oh, have you ever read any Brandon Sanderson? He's an author I just found recently, and I think
I've
he's
read one or two of his, and of course he's finishing up the Wheel of Time series for Robert Jordan. I got to interview him
Oh,
at
really?
a
Oh, wow.
convention.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a great time. It was a panel on writing groups, and writing groups, writers getting together, comparing work, and helping each other along. And I just hate those things.
right.
I've been in two in my life, neither worked out well, and I just decided I was against them. But Brandon Sanderson's writing group is an amazing group of people who work really hard together, and they create a really strong dynamic that allows their work to go forward, right? So it's going to be me and Brandon Sanderson and three other authors, and I get there and the room is packed full of people, and there's Brandon Sanderson, and we sit and we wait. And the other three guys don't show. And so I lean over him and say, okay, none of these people are here to see me. Much as I'd like to think they were, but nah.
Yeah.
And so I just interviewed him about writing groups for the next hour, and we had a great time. He's a really well-spoken guy, a great deal of fun to interview. Really knows his stuff. I mean, the man's a university professor, and you can really tell he knows how to put his stuff out. And talked about different styles of writing, talked about writing groups, took questions from the audience. It was a great time. And so yeah, buy all his books because he's a nice guy.
Nice. Yeah, and I loved just the magic systems he comes up with are amazing. And the first book of his I read was this one called Steelheart that was about superheroes, and that I love superheroes, and his take on it was just amazing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's great. He's got I think I have one of his on the shelf. I think boy, I hope this is Brandon Sanderson's book or I'm going to be in trouble, but it's one where they use chalk drawings to create magic.
Right, yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
Oh, good, it's his. Yay.
Yeah, it is his.
It's in the other room, so I can't just look up and go, it's, of course, with
Yeah.
my bookshelf, I can't do that anyway. The book's stacked everywhere. It's about as clean as the kitchen is when I'm on a writing binge.
So, how long have you been writing for?
Years. I like to say I started reading when I was 2, and I started writing when I was 7.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Cool,
Yes.
man.
Now, of course, I didn't actually complete anything I was writing until I was in high school, and I didn't actually start writing seriously until I was in my mid-20s. And it really was and I wrote I wrote one novel which will never, ever, please God, see the light of day. It's not the worst thing ever written because I've read worse, but still, apparently worse gets published, which still confuses me.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was so god awful. I don't want to see it. And then True Magics was my second. Oh, sorry, Small Magics was my second novel, and that one got published, and that was in 2007.
Cool.
And then life, it's like, okay, I'm going to start churning out a book a year, and then life, I got married, I had a kid, and life moved on and fell apart, and all these other fun, exciting things, and so it's like, hey, I better get another one out there. Especially that wonderful moment where you're sitting there on your computer, kind of writing a completely different book. When your publisher pops up online and goes, "Hey, how you doing? I'm good. Is that book going to be ready for spring?" Did you mean this spring? No, next spring will do. Oh, thank God. Yes, it will.
Now it said too that you were into archaeology. Have you ever excavated anything?
I have not myself. My as I said, I was married. I hope I use the past tense on that. I'm not anymore.
Oh.
My girlfriend is an archaeologist.
Oh wow!
Now I love
fucking
this stuff
cool.
myself. It's fascinating because it's and she puts it best when she says, archaeology is as close to time travel as any of us are ever going to get.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, you imagine holding, and I, held arrow points that could be 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
Up here in Canada. Imagine going to and there's places here in North America. We have sites that are 20, 30,000 years old around here. Right, from the north to the south, and they're discovering it's older and older as they go. Right, they thought first people came across it like 15, 16,000 years ago. Now they're pushing that back another 10,000 years. So it's really exciting here.
That
And then
is.
you get over to Europe, you get over to Asia, you get over to Africa and the Middle East, and all the stuff that's out there. It's incredible. So yeah, I just find it fascinating. It gives us a window
Yeah.
into how everyone else lived.
I love that kind of stuff too, man. That's really cool.
I actually wanted to go back to the first book that you had written that you said you never want to see it again. Did you try to publish it, or after you wrote it, you were like, all right, yeah, that's a piece of shit. I'm not.
Never tried to publish it, for which I am, eternally grateful. No, at that time I was very not confident in my writing.
Right.
I really wasn't.
Okay.
It's like, and it's in writer's disease. It's like, I've written something, and now if I show everyone, everyone will hate me and laugh at me. It's like high school all over again. But there's a reason I went into martial arts, damn it. But yeah, so I didn't have the confidence with that first book, and looking back on it, sort of a year later, I sat down and read it and went, I could do stuff with this, but I have this idea now, and then started working on the next piece, right?
Yeah.
And then I got heavily involved in my acting career, by which I mean I was running around to a bunch of auditions, getting told no a lot, and trying to find work. And then so it took a while for Small Magics to come about, and that book from first pen to paper to publication was 7 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was
long.
a long. Well, again, working full time, doing the actor thing, coming back to it now and then, and really, that was the one I learned my craft on. Right, that's one where I actually sat down and learned how to read. Not how to read. Ooh, that'd be bad, wouldn't it? How to write, apparently, but not how to talk. Right? I speak good like I'm an actor. But yeah, so that's one where I really learned how to write. Where I sort of took a look at what I was doing and said, okay, how can I make this better? And I'm very fortunate. My writers, my beta readers at the time, and beta readers are the people you send your work to, who like you enough not to tell anyone else how bad it is, but care about you enough to tell you how bad it is.
Yeah.
And they really tore it apart. And two of them are PhDs in English, and one of them is a brilliant and has a brilliant knowledge of the fantasy genre, and could really sort of nail the tropes of that and nail the pieces that were missing on that. And between the three of them and Stephen King was a great help to me during this time.
Wow.
Well, not personally. I read his book on writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
have
highly
that.
recommend that book.
I've been
It really
meaning to
improved
read
my
it. I
command.
do have that.
Yeah, it's a great book, and it really helped me sort of. I read that as I was doing the third draft on the book, and then promptly started over the fourth draft. And that was the book that reading that was the reason that Small Magics got published.
Cool.
Yeah, because without that, it wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Eric, I'm sorry, dude. We have to get going.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, dude. It was a great time.
Best of luck with your show. I hope you guys keep having fun, keep on the air, and we'll hopefully talk to you again sometime.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely be in touch.
Take care.
Why
Bye,
don't you-
guys.
Can you get all your plugs out real quick first? We didn't even.
Very quick.
Yeah.
There are 2 books out now, two books and short stories. My novels that are out are Small Magics and Cold Magics. Small Magics is the story of a young man who discovers magic in a world where no one believes in it anymore except for one person who's willing to kill to possess it all. Cold Magics in Cold Magics, our hero travels to the far north where he must try to stop a war while hiding his magic from the church that wants to hang him for witchcraft. True Magics, the finale where our hero is caught in between a battle between church and state for the control of magic, will be out in April of 2015. All books should be available by order only through your local bookstore or anywhere in the world on Amazon. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
All right. Take
Have
care.
a great
Eric.
night, guys. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye, Eric. That was really cool.
Yeah, he was awesome. Guys,
I
we're gonna
figured he would
take a
be.
break. We'll be back in like 5. Is Bob calling us or you calling him?
Bob will be calling us.
Okay, we'll be back in 5 minutes.